Hello, welcome into the channel. My name is Sarah. I am an attachment style specialist, mindset mastery coach, and transformational hypnotherapist. And today we're talking about your favorite topic, the avoidant. In particular, I want to hone in on distancing strategies of your avoidant partner, what this looks like. And this is just going to be an overview. So if you want anything in more detail, drop a comment in the comment section below so I can do an expanded video on that. I have some bird friends as always. And if you'd like a personal session with me, you can reach out for a free discovery call. There's a link below the video. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. So I'm just gonna dive right in. This is juicy stuff here. So distancing strategies of the avoidant partner. And if the avoidant does this, this could indicate that they're starting to pull back, that they're starting to maybe lead up to the discard. But it could also just be things that they employ inside of a relationship, a long-term relationship, where they have no intention of actually leaving, okay? So I wanna make that distinction clear. So they have this impulse to disconnect. It's an inherent, implicit impulse to disconnect. Anxious people have this impulse to connect. So it's the complete opposite, right? We're dealing with opposing energies here. They value self-reliance and independence, and they tend to auto-regulate, which means they'll go away by themselves and spend time doing whatever they need to do by themselves, and so that they can auto-regulate their nervous system and come back online to then attach and be inside of the relationship with you. They tend to leave their partner guessing how they feel about them. Again, I've said this in previous videos, and I said, I mentioned that, for instance, they'll just kind of get on their phone to disconnect. They'll walk ahead of you. They won't hold your hand. They will maybe want to sleep in a separate room or kind of like inch away from you on the couch, or they'll just stay busy, when you're trying to connect with them. And also they may trail off mid-sentence. That's like a key element of having a conversation with an avoidant partner. This could also be many other things, like somebody could have a learning disability. There could be many reasons why that could happen, but you will see this definitely with an avoidant partner. They'll trail off. You ask them, what were you going to say? And they'll say, oh, nothing. That is a way for them to disconnect. They're not doing this consciously. This is all subconscious behavior. It's nervous system patterning. Okay. I want to make that very clear, and I've been trying to make that clear in my videos. So they have more of an impulse to step back due to fear of being overtaken, right? They have this very clear, defined sense of self, which doesn't involve a partner or you or anybody, or lose their ability to be autonomous if they let you know how they're feeling. Think about that for a second. They feel like they're going to lose their autonomy if they actually let you know how they're feeling. This is less about wanting to hurt or confuse you. Remember, they have this impulse to disconnect, this ferocious independence. You can often, you'll spot an avoidant now, if those of you who are on dating sites, does anyone still do that? And they'll say I'm, fiercely independent. Telltale sign you're probably looking at an avoidant, okay? They're very proud of their independence. Remember, there's an element of superiority where they sort of feel like they're above everyone else who has those needs, who needs to connect, because they don't know what that feels like. They can't really understand it. So they don't really respect it. So it's less about wanting to hurt or confuse you, but they just prefer not to really talk about the relationship in depth. They prefer not to go that deep. This sends very mixed signals. The one thing that I hear from all my clients who have just left a relationship with an avoidant, or are, in a relationship with an avoidant, or have experienced one in the past, is the confusion factor. I am so confused. What is going on? What just happened? Why is my partner doing this? We were connecting so well. I just don't understand why this is happening. And I think that the more we dive in trying to understand the avoidant partner, the more difficult we're making it for ourselves, because ultimately you're not going to fully understand the avoidant partner, especially if you're more anxious leaning or if you're secure. It's going to be really challenging to try to dig inside their mind, into that hive, and what is going on in there, because all avoidants tend to act very much the same. They come in, this is why there's mixed signals. They will come in and attach for the exact level and amount that they want or need at that time, that their nervous system, their attachment system can handle, and then they will back away and retreat. So they'll come in, they'll retreat, they'll come in, they'll retreat. And this is very hot and cold behavior, and it's done so, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's not mysterious. It's very, it's latent, it's hidden. You can't really even pinpoint it. And if you tried to pinpoint it to them, they wouldn't even know they were doing it, guys. This is implicit behavior. This is not behavior that they're intentionally doing. This is just behavior that their attachment system, they're wired to disconnect, okay? They're not wired to connect. So they're going to disconnect. They're going to pull back. They're going to retreat, especially when the going gets tough, when there's a level of stress that's come up, when there's some sort, especially when there's a disagreement or an argument, or again, they're trying to maybe make their point and you're not understanding their point. They'll just tend to get frustrated and sort of just disconnect. Like, they don't understand me anyway. I really think, like, I know their core wound is really that they're defective. I also am starting to think that one of their other core wounds might be that just nobody understands me, right? And the fearful avoidant definitely feels that. And I think a lot of dismissive avoidants feel that too. Like, nobody really understands me. And you know what? I might as well just go over here and be by myself because no one understands my needs. Nobody understands. But the truth is, guys, they don't really understand their own needs. They don't really have a true grasp or understanding of what they need. Therefore, how in the world could they understand what you need if they don't have an understanding what they themselves need? So remember, this impulse to disconnect, they value self-reliance and independence really above all else. They're always going to revert back to that need for independence and self-reliance. Remember, their needs were maybe physically met as children. They were really praised for their accomplishments or for sports, for things that they did, not for who they were. So they don't really understand when you have needs that go above and beyond that. They're like, I took care of your needs. I changed your oil, or, I painted the wall that you wanted me to paint, or, I did this, like I did this thing for you. They very much value acts of service, and that's typically their love language. With most avoidance is acts of service. You will find them doing things for you, and that's how they're going to display their affection and their love for you. And for a lot of my anxious people, or even fearful avoidants or secure, it's like, maybe that's not enough. Maybe you want a little bit more. And the truth is maybe that avoidant person will never be able to give you the amount that you need. So you may need to look for a secure partner instead. And I just did a video on secure partners. What does secure look like? It's a short video, but it encapsulates just really the gist of what a secure person or partner would look like. So go check that out. It's really helpful for those of you who are healing from a breakup or who are looking ahead and saying, I know now what I don't want, and I know what I do want. I know what I need. Like, beyond what I want, I know what I actually need to feel happy and to feel respected, and I know what I deserve. And so really, truly, like, avoidant and anxious people, you're going to have your best relationship with a secure person. You're going to actually become more secure over time with that secure person because of how they act or don't react. So this, food for thought. So the partner of a dismissive avoidant ends up oftentimes feeling insecure, unimportant, or sort of like devalued. And I think that word devalued, right? It's like, oof, that's heavy. If you feel devalued, you're going to end up resentful. Like, I don't think there's a way around that. So they end up feeling devalued, insecure, or just unimportant. Like, I'm not important to you. Like, your friends are important, your work's important, everything's important, but I don't feel important to you. And then the avoidant partner is going to snap back and say, well, I do all these things for you. Don't you see? Like, and you're going to say, well, that's not my love language. And they're going to say, well, I don't know what you want. Like, what do you want from me? And then they go into their defective wound and they're like, well, I'm not good enough. Nothing I do is ever going to be good enough. We're just not a match. But the truth is every partner they have is going to feel that way unless that partner is equally avoidant, in which case that relationship will not stand the test of time, because two avoidants together, there's no way that's going to work, because you're just going to be avoiding the issues and it's going to be very superficial. It'll just be like a fling. There won't be any substance there. So the avoidant needs the anxious person, or the at least the more secure person, to really like latch on to something. So you can't have a relationship with just two avoidants. Fearful avoidance and dismissive avoidance can work, and they're oftentimes drawn to each other. And the reason for that, or two fearful avoidants also, is because that fearful avoidant will bring in the anxious aspect. So it's not just avoidance versus avoidance all the time. Oh, this is a good one. Dismissive avoidants are very good at compartmentalizing life and aspects of it, and that includes you and your relationship or your marriage to them. So here's something they might say, or they might think, but they don't even consciously know they're thinking this. So think about, like, if we could get into their subconscious, this is what they would say. If I let my worlds collide, I'll be overtaken, or I won't have the space I need, or I'll be gravely disappointed. Think about that. That's their truth. I'm going to say it one more time. If I let my worlds collide, I'll be overtaken, or I won't have the space that I need, or I'll be gravely disappointed. So you'll often find a dismissive avoidant compartmentalizing their life. They will even compartmentalize the breakup. They have the ability to be able to compartmentalize their feelings and deal with them at a later time. It's really like wild if you've never witnessed this, to just watch a dismissive avoidant go through grief or go through loss, and you're just like, and you'll think, you might even accuse them if you're an anxious attacher of like, do you even have any feelings? Are you even grieving that person or that animal? Because it's going to look like they're not. And that's why it's so, that discard, right? That breakup is so painful, because they look like they're doing just fine. They will look exactly like they did when you were together. They're not going to look any different probably in the process of that breakup, even if it's a marriage. And that can be really hard for the partner to understand and to really like absorb. They have this idolized value of past relationships. So they hold past relationships in high regard. And I'll talk about this in more detail in a future video. If you guys want me to, let me know in the comments below, because this deserves its own video, because this is very painful. They tend to like keep people sort of like in their cabinets, you know, like they'll, like dolls almost, like they'll have those people in their cabinets so that they can kind of pick them back up and play with them if they want to, or call them. And it's just an insecure thing that they might do, but they have to sort of know that somebody's going to be there. So my advice to you would be the ex that's not going to be there, because there's going to be others that are there. No one will measure up to this relationship. Whatever they call this, I think the phantom ex is what I'm hearing in social media circles. It's like, this person could do no wrong. And the only reason they feel that way is because they're no longer with that person. If they were to get back with that person, they would devalue them again. They would probably discard. They would eventually feel like, oh yeah, this wasn't right after all. But because they've got distance and their attachment system isn't being activated or pinged, they can feel this way. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. No one's going to measure up to that relationship. It's another distancing strategy, guys. It's another distancing strategy that's very effective. Let me give you an example, and I'll end on this now. I'll give you an example from my marriage. My husband had been married before, and then he had a child with a woman that he wasn't married to. So obviously, the child that's still under 18, he had to, communicate with the mother. Obviously, totally understood that. She was madly in love with him. Everybody knew it. She followed him across the country twice. And of course he had to have communication with her, but the boundaries weren't healthy. She would just call him and cry about things. And I'm like, no, this is not, like, you need to get that under control and have healthier boundaries. And then the other thing was the previous wife sort of just tried to infiltrate the marriage. And I made it very clear that I was not okay with that, not because of my insecurity, but because I simply didn't think that she had, I didn't feel like she had the best, intentions. I felt like her intentions were not good. And at the end of the marriage, when things were falling apart, he wanted to go have lunch with her when he was traveling across the country, and just go have lunch with her and catch up on life. Their kids are grown. And I was like, you know what? And in like a perfect world, if she maybe wasn't who she was and hadn't disrespected our marriage and me, then sure, if that would make sense. I don't think I would have any problem with that. But this woman was sort of unhinged. And this woman, I think, really got a kick out of, putting her foot or her mouth, in our marriage, like inserting herself into the marriage. And he hadn't really put a proper boundary around that. And now I was so upset. It's so very heartbroken about it and angry. And now when I look back, I realize, oh my God, that might have been the phantom ex from 20 years ago, who happens to be the mother of his two older children. And I thought, that's so interesting that even though he would deny it and get upset and say, I never want to be back with her, which might be true, there was sort of like this, his ability to step back out all the things she had done to him, dragged him through child custody court for 5 years and all these nasty things she had done, moved away with his kids and, like everything. And he was able to just forgive her and then want to be friends with her. And I just thought that was so interesting. And again, like in a different history with a different woman, that would be a totally different story. But this woman definitely did not have good intentions. And I did not trust her inherently. And my intuition was just flying, like just the radar was just going off. And I was asking him, please respect our marriage. Obviously you can communicate with her, but you don't need to go have lunch with this woman. There's no need for that. Your kids are grown. And he wasn't able to really respect that. It made him very angry. And I see now that, there was this sort of like, I don't even think he knew it. I just think this is so implicit. It's like the undercurrent of the attachment system. It's just like having to have some sense of security, like our marriage was falling apart. Let me latch onto this from 20 years ago, even though that's a dead end and that's not going to go anywhere. But it's so interesting that I wonder if any of you guys have any, I'm sure that you guys have similar stories, you know, that I know because I listen to my clients every day tell me about situations like this where, you know, the ex, you know, had your ex had exes, you know, in the picture that were causing issues inside of the relationship. So let me know in the comments below, guys. I hope this video has been helpful and informative for you, and maybe just even given you some peace of mind through this process. That's what I hope to do here, is to help even just one person out there have a better understanding of what's happening. These attachment styles are so important to understand because they play out in all of our relationships. And if you really want to do the work and you start looking back at your own relationships, you'll see how your own attachment system and attachment style really played out. And then you can work towards becoming more secure and becoming that, you know, secure within yourself, that better version of yourself, which I can help you to do also. Have a beautiful day, guys. Thank you so much.